Today we explore a tragic 2015 case from Fayetteville, Arkansas. Johnny Ray Baxter, a well-known 45-year-old real estate agent, was found brutally murdered on April 12th. His neighbor, Michael Everly, discovered the grim scene after being asked by Johnny's wife, Darling, to check on him. Investigators, Detectives Sarah Mitchell Kinsey and James Carter, noted signs of a violent struggle, and the murder weapon, a bloodied hammer, was collected as evidence. Johnny Ray's seemingly idyllic life masked complex relationships. Suspicion initially fell on Darling, who had been out of town and reportedly stressed about Johnny's late work nights and their daughter, Lily's behavior. Further inquiry revealed Johnny and Lee had a hidden affair, fueling suspicion towards her as well. However, both Darling and Lily provided alibis, leaving investigators at a dead end. A breakthrough came when a jogger discovered a bloody shirt and gloves near Beaver Lake. The items bore Johnny's DNA and Darling's fingerprints, complicating her alibi. Surveillance footage eventually placed Darling near Beaver Lake on the night of the murder. Detectives arrested her on April 22nd, as new evidence solidified the case against her. Johnny Ray Baxter's murder sent shockwaves through the tight-knit community of Fayetteville, Arkansas. His wife, Darling Baxter, once known as a hard-working woman, was accused of the brutal crime. The tragedy stemmed from Johnny Ray's affair with Darling's daughter, Lily, a betrayal that led to intense confrontation and, eventually, violence. Prosecutors argued that Darling, overcome by rage, killed Johnny Ray with a hammer after discovering the affair, despite her denial of involvement. Surveillance footage, forensic evidence, and Darling's inconsistent statements convinced the jury, leading to a guilty verdict. The courtroom was filled with reporters, and the story dominated local news as emotions ran high, particularly for Johnny Ray's family and Lily. The sentencing closed a grim chapter for the Baxter family, but the community was left grappling with the emotional toll and buried family secrets. Following the trial, Lily sought therapy to cope with the guilt and grief, returning to her studies at the University of Arkansas. Detective Sarah Mitchell received praise for solving the complex case, continuing her role in the local police department. Johnny Ray's former wife and his family found solace in community support, with a memorial erected to honor his memory. Though the incident's scars would remain, Fayetteville began to heal, leaving the tragedy as a stark reminder of how hidden tensions and unchecked emotions can devastate families and communities. Robert Wilson, a polished financial advisor with a thriving practice in Hartford, had carefully crafted his public image. He was known as a charismatic leader, respected in his community, and appeared the perfect husband and stepfather. But behind this facade, he harbored dark secrets. His marriage to Amanda had lost its appeal, and he was deeply involved in an affair with Elena Gonzalez, his neighbor's wife. Sarah, his stepdaughter, was perceptive and increasingly made him uneasy. Fearing she might uncover his infidelity, Robert's paranoia escalated. When Sarah was found murdered in the woods, Detective Michael Carter initially focused on Amanda, given the strained mother-daughter relationship and Amanda's shaky alibi. But something felt off. As Carter revisited evidence, he uncovered Robert's affair and, more disturbingly, discovered Sarah had taken photos of him with Elena, hinting that she knew of his secret. Driven by desperation to protect his image, Robert had lured Sarah into the woods and killed her. Believing her silence was essential to his survival. The missing camera, later found in his office, provided the damning evidence. Amanda was exonerated, and Robert, the true killer, was arrested. The community breathed a sigh of relief, as Carter's hunch had unveiled the truth behind Robert's carefully constructed life of lies. On October 16, 2022, a distressing emergency call alerted 911 to a violent incident in a suburban home. An Apple Watch had dialed for help, revealing sounds of a struggle before the call cut off. Dispatch quickly located the address, but the home was empty. Soon after, two young siblings arrived, explaining they were returning from church with their mother Young and had received an emergency alert from her. Her husband, Minho, who had been visiting to discuss their impending divorce, was now missing along with Young. A search began, and a chilling family history surfaced. Minho, a former intelligence officer, was known for his violent outbursts toward his wife. Their marriage had deteriorated, and Young had decided to leave him, unaware his threats would escalate. During a confrontation at home, Minho assaulted and bound Young, dragging her into his van. Unknown to him, she managed to activate her Apple Watch to alert 911 before he smashed it. After driving her to a remote forest area, Minho cruelly dug a shallow grave, stabbing and burying her alive under a heavy log. Against all odds, Young survived. After 19 harrowing hours, she freed herself from the shallow grave and escaped. Police and her family, fearing for her life, intensified the search. A neighbor's CCTV captured Minho leaving the scene with the van. He was finally arrested after being spotted searching for her in the forest. In custody, Minho faced charges of attempted murder, kidnapping, and assault. Young's plea to the court highlighted her trauma and fear for her children's safety. During a hearing, Minho expressed regret, but the court denied bail, deeming him a significant threat. Kate Waring, born in Charleston, South Carolina, grew up in a loving home with 2 siblings and caring parents. Known for her positivity, Kate had many friends and volunteered at animal shelters. However, her life took a dark turn before college when she confided in her parents about being abused by someone close to the family. This revelation devastated her parents, who had no idea about the trauma she'd been enduring for years. After sharing her secret, Kate's struggles intensified. She initially turned to alcohol, eventually experimenting with drugs. Her parents encouraged her to seek therapy, and she moved back home to regain stability. Despite some improvement, Kate remained burdened by her past, struggling to move forward. She was eventually diagnosed with depression, but a trip suggestion from her father sparked hope. Kate chose to visit the Arctic Circle, where she hoped to see polar bears, a nod to her enduring love for animals. This idea uplifted her spirits, and soon her family planned the trip. The journey brought much-needed joy, and Kate met a Russian tourist on the trip with whom she kept in touch. After returning home, she even considered moving to Russia to continue their friendship, but had to return due to visa issues. Once home, she began writing a book for her future children, hopeful for a fresh start. However, on June 12, 2009, Kate disappeared while home alone. Her father, alarmed by her silence, eventually reported her missing after the bank notified him of a suspicious transaction in her name. Thus began a complex investigation involving her friend Ethan Mack and his girlfriend, Heather Camp, leading to shocking revelations about Kate's final days. Her story is a tragic reminder of resilience amid adversity and the impact of unresolved trauma. Kate struggled with depression after losing a beloved pet, but found hope in a trip to the Arctic Circle with her parents, which uplifted her spirits. There, she met a Russian tourist, with whom she later reconnected and even visited in Russia, sparking renewed positivity in her life. Back home, she began writing a children's book, and her outlook seemed to be improving. But on June 12, 2009, everything changed. Kate's father grew worried when she missed their usual check-in calls, so he asked someone to check on her. While her room lights were on, Kate was missing, and she left her essential medication behind. Concerned, her father reported her disappearance to the police, who began investigating. After an odd event, a man named Ethan Mack tried to cash a large check with her signature, which appeared genuine but unusual. Detectives questioned Ethan, who claimed to be a friend, and searched his home but found nothing suspicious. However, private investigators uncovered that Ethan actually lived in a nearby apartment with his girlfriend Heather Camp, who had a history of fraud. Surveillance revealed that Ethan had been selling jewelry at pawn shops, possibly connected to Kate. The team uncovered a critical lead when handwriting analysis showed Heather had forged Kate's signature. This finding, along with careful surveillance, provided police the evidence they needed to continue the investigation into Kate's mysterious disappearance. He noticed Ethan's backpack and examined its contents. They awaited their first clue: Chinese money, the same notes found on Kate's bed, but that's where their luck ran out. He couldn't find any other potential clues. He and the landlord pretended to complete the treatment and left. The team needed a new plan again. Upon reviewing the footage from the camera in front of Ethan's apartment, they realized that there was a man who entered very often. It turned out to be a neighbor of the couple named Terry Williams. The detective speculated that he might know something about Ethan and Heather's involvement in Kate's disappearance, so the team took a risky step. They decided to offer Williams a significant sum of money if he told the police what his friends had done to Kate. They took the tragic case of Kristen Trickle's death initially appeared to be a tragic suicide, but as investigators delved deeper, unsettling inconsistencies arose. Kristen's husband, Colby, called emergency services on Halloween night, claiming she had taken her own life with a revolver found beside her. But detectives were puzzled by the scene. Kristen was dressed only in her underwear. A large revolver lay on her abdomen, and she had Halloween treats prepared in the kitchen, signaling plans for the morning. Colby's behavior also raised suspicion. While he portrayed himself as a grief-stricken husband, he remained unusually calm, discussing video games with officers just outside. He explained that Kristen had long suffered from depression, citing her traumatic childhood. However, Kristen's relatives refuted this, insisting she was a life-loving woman with plans for the future, including opening an animal shelter. They also revealed Colby's controlling behavior, noting he had forbidden her from seeing family and friends. Forensic examination revealed only a single gunshot wound, with no signs of struggle or other injuries, making it plausible but highly unusual for Kristen to have inflicted the wound on herself. Detectives obtained a warrant to examine Colby's phone and discovered flirtatious messages with another woman, as well as searches related to life insurance payouts. Despite Colby denying any insurance, investigators found 2 policies on Kristen, with Colby as the beneficiary. Days after her death, he received substantial payouts, promptly spending on luxury items. As time passed, Colby seemed to believe he had gotten away with the crime, but 2 years later, a crucial development would change the course of the investigation. Detectives continued to unravel details, but Kristen's family, convinced of foul play, persisted in seeking justice. In 2020, the peaceful town of Newark, Delaware, was shaken by the tragic murder of 17-year-old Madison Sparrow. On October 2nd, Madison set out to meet her friends for ice cream, promising her mother she'd be home soon. Unbeknownst to her, Madison's ex-boyfriend, Noah Sharp, and her close friend, Anuka Stalinsky, had conspired to harm her. Noah, still heartbroken from their breakup, confided in Anuka, who grew increasingly jealous of Madison. Their resentment led them to plan Madison's murder in chilling detail, discussing weapons, methods, and ways to dispose of her body. That afternoon, Anuka called Madison, inviting her out. Madison, wearing Halloween-inspired ghost earrings and a cheerful smile, left her home, not realizing the danger awaiting her. Hours later, her mother, Heather, received strange, unsettling messages from Madison's phone, suggesting she had run away. But as days passed without Madison's return, police uncovered disturbing evidence: messages exchanged between Noah and Anuka, outlining their intent to end Madison's life.
The investigation revealed that jealousy and resentment fueled a horrifying plot. Madison's once close friends had become her killers, leaving her family and community devastated. The story served as a painful reminder of the depths to which betrayal and bitterness can descend. In October 2020, Newark, Delaware, was shocked by the tragic murder of 17-year-old Madison Sparrow. On October 2nd, Madison left home to meet her friends but never returned. Her mother, Heather, grew concerned when Madison didn't respond to calls or texts. Later, Heather received strange messages implying her daughter had run away, but Madison's clothes, money, and ID were still at home. Fearing the worst, Heather reported her missing to the police. Over the following days, a massive search ensued, with friends, family, and authorities scouring the town.
The investigation soon focused on Madison's ex-boyfriend, Noah Sharp, who eventually confessed to the crime. According to his statement, he and his new girlfriend, Anuka Stalinsky, had plotted to kill Madison out of jealousy and resentment. Noah lured Madison to a wooded area where he attacked her with an aluminum baseball bat. Afterward, he and Anuka moved her body, attempting to hide it near a bridge but ultimately burying it in a shallow grave. Police uncovered damning evidence at the scene, including the baseball bat used in the assault. Both Noah and Anuka were charged with first-degree murder and conspiracy. While Noah pleaded not guilty, Anuka later admitted her role and agreed to testify against him. Madison's family and community were devastated by the senseless act, and her mother sought justice to ensure such a tragedy would never be repeated. In 2019, the tragic murder of Laura Lopez shocked Argentina, highlighting the dangers young people can face when meeting strangers alone. Laura, a schoolgirl, had gone on a date with an older man she knew from school. Though he was 10 years her senior, Laura felt safe enough to go, believing their shared school background was reason to trust him. She didn't tell anyone where she was going that night, thinking there was no cause for concern. Sadly, Laura was never seen alive again. 3 days after she went missing, local fishermen found her remains in a river, a horrifying discovery that left the community in despair. The investigation revealed that Laura had endured severe abuse before her death, evident from the marks on her body. The case resonated deeply in Argentina, sparking a national conversation on safety, trust, and the risks associated with meeting new people in potentially vulnerable situations. Experts emphasized the importance of discussing safe dating practices and understanding potential escape routes when meeting someone new, especially in unfamiliar areas. In 2019, the tragic murder of Laura Lopez shocked Argentina, highlighting the dangers young people can face when meeting strangers alone. Laura, a schoolgirl, had gone on a date with an older man she knew from school. Though he was 10 years her senior, Laura felt safe enough to go, believing their shared school background was reason to trust him. She didn't tell anyone where she was going that night, thinking there was no cause for concern. Sadly, Laura was never seen alive again. 3 days after she went missing, local fishermen found her remains in a river, a horrifying discovery that left the community in despair. The investigation revealed that Laura had endured severe abuse before her death, evident from the marks on her body. The case resonated deeply in Argentina, sparking a national conversation on safety, trust, and the risks associated with meeting new people in potentially vulnerable situations. Experts emphasized the importance of discussing safe dating practices and understanding potential escape routes when meeting someone new, especially in unfamiliar areas. For young people, particularly girls, caution was advised, though Laura's story underscored the harsh reality that danger is often underestimated in real life. In response, communities and schools initiated conversations around safety and situational awareness, with hopes that such a tragedy might never repeat. Laura's case became a symbol of the need for vigilance, especially for vulnerable young individuals who may find themselves in risky situations. Laura S.E. Lopez was born on September 11, 2001, in Nan Province, Argentina. She was a cherished miracle child, arriving when her parents were older and her twin sisters were already adults. Tragically, when Laura was just 3, her mother passed away from a long illness, leaving her family shattered. Her sisters took on the responsibility of raising her, balancing work and school. Laura grew into a sociable and creative girl, excelling in school and working part-time to support her family. By age 17, she was helping care for her nephews and dreaming of a bright future. However, her life was brutally cut short in September 2019. On September 12, Laura returned home after school and later met a friend, Cecilia. They shared a bottle of wine, took photos, and chatted until midnight. After saying goodbye, Laura returned home and went to her room. When her sister Melissa awoke the next morning, she found Laura missing. After realizing that Laura had not attended school and could not be reached, Melissa grew worried and reported her sister missing to the police. The initial police response was dismissive, assuming Laura had run away. As her sisters organized searches and spread the word on social media, the police finally joined the search days later. Tragically, on September 15th, fishermen discovered dismembered human remains in the river. DNA testing confirmed they belonged to Laura. Alfredo Escobar, a 28-year-old mechanic known for his aggressive behavior, emerged as the prime suspect. Laura had exchanged messages with him late at night, and phone records showed that he had picked her up from her home. Evidence revealed that after luring her to his house, he brutally assaulted her, resulting in her death. Escobar was arrested while trying to flee the city. Forensic evidence linked him to the crime, including DNA found in various locations, and witnesses provided testimony about his violent tendencies. Despite his attempts to blame Laura and deny his guilt, he was ultimately convicted of rape, murder, and dismemberment. In court, Laura's family witnessed the harsh reality of her loss. The judge sentenced Escobar to life in prison without parole, but throughout the trial, he displayed no remorse, leaving Laura's family to grapple with their grief and the senselessness of her tragic fate. The tragic case of Jennifer Johnson shook the quiet town of Pine Hill, revealing dark secrets hidden beneath its picturesque surface. Jennifer and her husband Mark, close friends with Daniel and Linda Garner, had engaged in a consensual wife-swapping arrangement. Initially thrilling, the dynamic shifted when Daniel's fascination with Jennifer turned into an obsession. As Daniel's feelings deepened, he began to pursue Jennifer outside their agreed boundaries, prompting discomfort and fear in her. Despite Linda's suspicions about Daniel's changing behavior, she tried to maintain the fragile balance of their relationships. However, during a weekend getaway, the tension escalated. Daniel's declaration of love for Jennifer forced her to confront the reality of their situation and end the arrangement. In a desperate attempt to control the situation, Jennifer met Daniel at a secluded park to reinforce her decision. As the confrontation grew heated, Linda, who had been watching from a distance, feared for both their safety. Just as Daniel's anger flared, Linda stepped in, causing a momentary distraction. Jennifer seized the opportunity to distance herself. Linda's intervention marked a turning point, yet the damage was done. The relationships between the couples were irrevocably altered, and the shadows of betrayal lingered over Pine Hill. The story of Jennifer Johnson serves as a cautionary tale about the complexities of human emotions, the fragility of trust, and the devastating consequences of obsession. As the community grappled with the aftermath, it became a poignant reminder of the darkness that can disrupt even the most seemingly idyllic lives. As the dust settled after the park confrontation, the extent of Daniel's obsession and Linda's complicity began to unravel, leading to a tragic conclusion. In turmoil, Daniel returned home, where his emotional instability worsened and he became increasingly erratic. Meanwhile, Jennifer focused on moving forward, avoiding Daniel and fearing for her safety. One evening, Jennifer found Daniel waiting for her outside her house. Despite her attempts to dismiss him, he forcibly grabbed her arm. Their struggle attracted a neighbor's attention, prompting Daniel to flee. Jennifer, shaken, called Linda for help. The next day, they met to discuss Daniel's behavior, but when Linda confronted him about Jennifer, their argument escalated. Driven by despair and twisted loyalty, Daniel decided that if he couldn't have Jennifer, no one could. He broke into the Johnsons' home and murdered Jennifer in her sleep. When he returned home trembling, Linda chose to help him cover up the crime. They quickly devised a plan to create an alibi and destroy evidence, burning Daniel's clothes and the murder weapon. As the investigation unfolded, both struggled with guilt and paranoia, desperately trying to maintain their facade in a community unaware of their dark secret. Upon returning to Pine Hill, the Garners tried to resume their lives, but cracks in their facade began to show. As whispers about Daniel's involvement in Jennifer's death circulated, new evidence emerged, including text messages revealing his obsession. Detective Mitchell's investigation uncovered Daniel's car near the crime scene and remnants of burned clothing in their home. Under pressure, Daniel confessed to killing Jennifer, implicating Linda in the cover-up. Both were charged, with Daniel sentenced to life in prison and Linda receiving 15 years due to her cooperation. The community mourned, haunted by the destructive power of obsession and deceit.